Welcome, welcome, welcome. What is up, founders? It's Sean, Neil, and Simon back with our birthday hat. Hope you're doing really good today. It is April 2nd, Wednesday, April 2nd, and all three of us have actually recently celebrated birthdays. So this is the birthday episode. Today we're going to be talking about should I write a book? If you're here for that reason, you're in the right place. Again, the Elevate podcast is here to help founders get to the next level of their business. And we got some awesome topics coming up. On the 16th, we're going to dive into whether or not you should have a paid community or a free community or what that looks like. Beyond that, we're going to get into YouTube optimization. And then we start taking a deep dive down the rabbit hole of AI. So stick with us over the next coming weeks. It's going to be really awesome. But today we're going to zoom back out and say, what's happening? Oh, he's writing AI on the screen now. So we got Neil in the house. Neil, happy birthday. Simon, happy birthday. Happy birthday to myself. Neil, how's it going today?
Very well, thank you. I had a nice celebration last week with family, so it was fun. 1 year older, maybe another year wiser, who knows? But yeah, it was fun.
Oh, you just leveled up, man. That's all. So I like that. I like that. Simon, happy birthday to you. How was your birthday?
Thank you. Lots of people, lots of sports out there, including climbing and lots of sparkling wine. We're Europeans.
I like it. You didn't drink wine and climb, right? That would be a bad idea.
All
right?
of that, all of that in one day.
Of course. Sounds about right. You're crazy. I love it. Well, okay. Well, we're going to dive in today. Let's get started. So whether or not should I write a book now, just for to lay a little bit of groundwork for everybody today. I am in the process of writing 3 books at one time. I'm writing a trilogy. Simon already has 1 book and a second one on the way, I think, and Neil is considering writing a book. So this is perfect, a dynamic for you as the founder here to ask questions. And so in the chat comments below, if you have any questions, drop them in there about writing a book. We're going to dive into it and start like we always do. We got 4 questions today and then 2 questions for the lightning round. That's what we're getting into. So I'm going to start with the person who already has a book that's published in a bunch of different languages all over the world. His name is Simon. Simon, thank you for being here. Question number 1, how can writing a book establish a founder as an authority and open up new business opportunities?
If you think of the buying process, the buyer doesn't buy from you, they buy from other people that they trust and they are similar to them. So how do you create that situation? If you have a publisher that's usually picky or is known for high standards, high quality standards, and they say out there, hey, this is amazing, authority in this field, this topic, you have to read this. Now you're creating the situation where other people are saying that your knowledge is valuable, you're an expert. And that's a much better pitch than saying, hey guys, I'm really cool, I'm cool. That's not a great pitch. But if somebody else, if I say, oh my God, Neil is amazing, that's a good pitch for Neil, right? And so if you are in an industry and if you want to build authority, I think 1 book with a picky publisher, I'm not talking about self-published books at this point. We will talk about them later on in the episode. But if you ask me about the authority, I go pick a publisher that's known for quality, that matters in that field that you want to be known in. And what better way to establish authority now that other 100 people are saying on Amazon, wow, I like this book. Yeah, that's a pretty good way.
Love that. That's a great answer. One of the things that I've seen, and again, I just actually got back from a conference in San Diego about social media marketing World 25, where they had, I think they had like 60 or 70 speakers in a 3-day period. It was intense. Almost every single one of those people who spoke on stage had a book. And it becomes a very soft call to action. And one of the other things that I've seen, not particularly at this conference, but at ones I've been at previous, a lot of people, when they speak on stage, they would actually put a copy of their book on every single chair or every single table. And what's really great about that is it starts to help you with rapid expansion and distribution of getting your name and your brand awareness out there. So it's an awesome tool if you have a plan to use it for your marketing game at the back end. So as we're going into this, I think obviously we can talk a little bit about that later too. But I think when you AI, there you go. Why
You
are you
said
writing
AI
AI on the screen?
before, and so think about AI and how it will disrupt search engine optimization. Right? Everybody was thinking in SEO terms a few years ago, and might be even thinking right now in SEO. But you don't Google stuff anymore. You have Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, Crawl, right? So how are they thinking, and what will they find relevant versus the Google algorithm? Um, we can go into that rabbit hole, but definitely a book will be part of the equation because that's still a reputable source. If the publisher and Amazon pop up there, those are definitely two reputable sources.
Totally. And while book writing may be a ginormous task, which it is, I'm going to come to Mr. Neil here. And Neil, first of all, how you doing, man? Happy birthday. How was your birthday?
It was good. Thank you very much. Yeah, as mentioned, I had some time with family and fun stuff like that. So pretty chilled out, but a couple of days in Lisbon, which was nice and good to catch up with everybody. So it was fun.
I love it. I love your green hat. Thanks for wearing it today. It's the
It's
birthday
my
hat.
it's my wife's, so I
Oh,
don't
it's
have.
even
It's
better.
not
That's
mine,
even
but
better.
it's a bit tight. But there you go.
Even better. I'm just gonna kind of touch on that same question with you. In your opinion, how can writing a book establish a founder as an authority and open up new business opportunities?
Similar to what Simon said, I think self-publishing. When I'm looking for a book on subjects that I'm interested in, I will typically go for a known publisher and obviously look at sort of the reviews and so on. So I think writing a book will not only just build your credibility, but it's a way to share your experiences with others. And I think once you've become an authority in your niche or whatever that might be, as you mentioned, that the book is going to build a lot more credibility and give you a really good reach for people who may not know about you. And as you mentioned, all these people that you were listening to in social media marketing world all have a book. So it seems to be the thing that once you've gained some authority in your niche, you've learned through years of experience, why not share those experiences in a book and be able to sort of build that and share that. So I think for me, I'm thinking whether I can write something that would help other people and share that knowledge and also build a bit more credibility in my particular field. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great answer. Let's move on to question number two. We'll stick with you, Neil. Stay there. What are some of the biggest success stories that you've seen where a book transformed a founder's brand or business?
Sorry, I was distracted. Could you just repeat the question again? So you broke
Yeah,
up a
of
little bit
course.
right.
What are some of the biggest success stories that you've seen where a book transformed a founder's brand or business? Can you think of an example of one that was huge?
Um, this, Simon's going crazy with the writing today. I'm just trying to think. I mean, there's a couple of books that I've read over the years, particularly around storytelling and things like that, where there's been a person that's been writing a particular book, and it's just basically escalated and elevated their presence by being credible in that particular field. And it's like anything else, I think. If once that book becomes popular, I can't think of anybody in particular, but once that book becomes popular, then obviously people are going to gravitate to that person because one, they're an authority, two, they have a multi-million best-selling book, and basically it's just sent their business and brand into a different level. So I think a book can be a really good marketing tool to build that credibility, and people will, as Simon mentioned, buy from people who have got a book or a best-selling book in that particular niche. But I can't think of anybody off the top of my head because Simon's distracted me too much now with all these.
That's okay. Simon, we'll come back to you now, man. Question number two. I love your drawings. It's so good. What are some of the biggest success stories you've seen where a book transformed the brand or business? Now, in your case, you have one of those, and it's probably helped you quite a bit. So maybe talk from personal experience, but also just your knowledge.
So if we think of one of our clients that had a huge breakthrough, Ali Abdal was really good at YouTube, And then his next move was a cohort, a course about being a part-time YouTuber. And then his next move was a book. And that book catapulted him into a new platform, because now he's not just known, and the book was a great success, because everything that he does it 120% in quality. So he crushed it. And he went with a good publisher, Penguin Random House, and he crushed it. And so if you have that infrastructure and a really good book, he wrote it for over a year. He changed it after 6 months. I was like, come on, it's already a good book. And he was like, yeah, but this angle and that. And so he really, really, really put a ton of effort into it. And that added another gear to his business. Now he doesn't only have the 20-year-old YouTubers that love him anyways. That's his 6 million subscribers, like people who are 22, they're in Southeast Asia, and their name is something like Ali. So that's his core demographic, and he can get more of them in YouTube, but he will never get to the 50-year-old head of a department at HubSpot, because they don't spend so much time on YouTube, but they go to the airport and find his book there. So he added a layer, a platform, and now while his audience becomes older, those 22-year-old, they will be 28, 35 at some point, and now he can grow with them and add topics and services that grow with their age. Like from the productivity topic of the 22-year-old, he can, when they are 30, he can now say, hey, and what about starting your own business? Let's do some business courses now. So that's an example of how a book can add a whole layer to your business, to your life.
I love that, and I would like to just ask, because you have published a book, and it's in how many languages now?
We started 2022. Strategy Sprints was on Amazon in English. This is how we started.
Okay.
And now everybody will tell you, oh, a publisher doesn't do anything. You can do it on your own. And I think it's 90% true. But the 10% people don't tell you is they will also hunt for IP licensing contracts while you sleep. So what they landed was 3 additional platforms where there is just a summary of your book. And I get royalties from that. So you don't
Sweet.
see
So
it
there's
in airports.
So there's like other forms of income that could come from it. I think that's pretty amazing. Yeah, that's so cool.
And then I get an email, Simon, we just sold the rights of your book in Chinese. I hope you're happy. We are. And I said, sure, I'm happy. I don't know what it means, but thank you. And so now the book is also out there in China. And then it came out.
Would you say that's the big, wait, let me just ask you that. Like, would you say that's the biggest hook to having, because you said, hey, get a big publishing company. So my question would be like, is that why? Because that big publishing company then can go out and get you those deals, like, hey, we're going to do it in Chinese, we're going to do it in Mandarin, we're going to do it in whatever language. Is that why you're leveraging the publishing company?
Yeah, I said pick a picky publisher because of the quality standards. It's hard to get to a really big publisher. That's why I don't recommend going to a big one. Ali landed the big one because he had already 6 million subscribers on YouTube. If you don't have 6 million subscribers on YouTube, it will be hard for you to land Penguin as your first book. So I went with a small publisher with high quality. They are known for being very picky and have a high quality standards, so that it's academic in terms of the quality standards, but it still caters to business people. But it could be in a university library and not be the worst book that you find there.
Yeah.
So I went with a smaller one, Kogan Page in London. But the cool thing is that they keep selling the rights. So they send this email, Simon, you are now in China. I say, cool, what should I do? Oh, nothing, you will get the book. Boom, book comes in Chinese. So now it's a fun thing. I have no idea what's in here. I guess it's my book.
So awesome, man.
But it's making royalties, right? And they're coming in. Then they send another email and say, oh, by the way, we sold also the rights to the Russian translation, and that will come out next year. So, okay, cool, I take it. So these are some additional surprises that can happen if your publisher is good at these things and is active. The rest, the 90%, is true. They just put it out there in airports. But even that is already kind of a service, because you don't know how to get your book in an airport. They know.
Yeah. The distribution channels, I think, are mega helpful. And I think what you said was really interesting, and I hadn't heard that before. It's kind of like if you started in the digital space and you're at that place where you can write the book, like what Neil was saying, is like, hey, you got to have a little bit of credibility, expertise in a certain thing. And then you publish, and then you push outside of the digital realm where you get into a bookstore.
Yeah.
I think it does bring this like tremendous bigger credibility to you as a person, because you're like, oh yeah, well, you can go down to the freaking bookstore and get my book. People are going to be like, whoa, that's pretty awesome. And I think there's this like credibility status, because most people believe or have false beliefs on how difficult it is to get a book out there. Yeah, I think some of the biggest success stories that came to my mind as I was coming up with this question was, number one, I thought of Tim Ferriss. If you don't know who Tim Ferriss is, he is the guy that published the 4-Hour series, whereas the 4-Hour Work Week, the 4-Hour Chef, and the 4-Hour Body. They're humongous books. He's awesome, but he was a blogger, right? And so he wasn't in the stratosphere yet until he came out with his 4-Hour Work Week. And as soon as he launched that 4-Hour Work Week, he became this national bestseller across the whole thing. And he just basically showed people how to leverage little hacks where they can reduce time in their business day. And that propelled him to a level of stardom which was absolutely insane. The second example that I can think of is Daryl Eves. Now, if you don't know who Daryl Eves is, he is one of the biggest YouTube trainers of all. The only thing I really need to say is he built Mr. Beast, right? So like Mr. Beast is the #1 biggest YouTuber ever. And Daryl Eves taught Mr. Beast a lot of frameworks and things that went into YouTube and how it should be like really designed and built. And then he ended up writing a book called The YouTube Formula, which also propelled his career to a completely different height that nobody really ever saw coming. So I think there is this matter of like timing in your business life of like, where am I? Does a book make sense now? Should I wait? Whatever. So like choosing that time might be helpful. If you don't know when or where to do that, like get a coach, hire Neil, hire me, hire Simon, and let's talk about like the strategy of your going to market and when does a book actually make sense in your world, because I definitely think there's a time and a place for it. Just like I said, I'm writing a trilogy of books. I'm in process right now. I have one of them done. It's about 80,000 words. I'm working on my second one, will be about 25,000 words. And then the third one will come after that. So, and they all tie together, and it's fortuitous timing, because like for us, the first 3 years I run a software product called flowchat.com. And the first 3 years was just put the infrastructure in. The last year was, or fourth year was, here's how we start to put AI and automations all over this thing. And now as we move into this fifth year here, it comes into, okay, now we have capacity. Now it's time for some big distribution. And I'm in a place where I have a pocket of time to actually sit down and work with my book writing coach. Yes, I hired a book writing coach, by the way, because I don't know anything about writing books. And I work with him every single week. And that's one of the things that I would encourage anyone to do if they are going to go down the path. Buy a book from somebody who helps other people write books, or go hire them as a coach, or go to a seminar so that you don't miss the things from the beginning. So do a little bit of due diligence is what I would say. So let's move on to question number 3. We're going to swap the card here. Now we're going to go, that was kind of the pros of writing a book. Let's talk about the cons of writing a book, the bad things. So I'm going to start with you, Neil. In your opinion, what are the biggest challenges that founders underestimate when writing and publishing a book?
I think to your point, there is an art form to writing a book. I don't think you can just, it's not like writing a blog, sorry, it's not like writing just a small article. There is definitely an art form to that. And I think to your point about hiring somebody to help you with that, I think if you go ahead and try and publish a book without any prior knowledge of how a book should be written, how it should be edited, and telling a story, then simply it's probably not going to do very well at all. And one of the things I was going to ask you is, do you think that AI now based on the fact that AI is learning from all these amazing books out there. Obviously, AI will be learning from Simon's book and others. Do you think that AI can potentially help people write a book? And should you be using it? Because if you just maybe create a book using AI and throw it out there, that could probably have a negative impact on you as a brand and your credibility if it isn't written well, if it isn't perceived to be good, and if it doesn't do well, then maybe having a failed book on your plate is not going to do your brand and your credibility any good. So I think there's a lot of caution when it comes to writing a book and making sure that you have something to say, because what's the point in writing a book if you've actually got nothing to say as well, or nothing that's going to help anybody?
Yeah, I like the comment about AI, and we're gonna come to you here in a second, Simon, and kind of just touch on this. But Neil, I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper. Like, um, in your opinion, how would somebody use AI for good and maybe for evil when it comes to like writing a book?
I think because AI has learned from so many of the great writers out there, you can actually write a book in the style of X. So you could potentially use AI to craft your story, craft your book in a particular style. So I could say, I'm going to write a book on my content creation journey in the style of Stephen King. It probably wouldn't go very well because it's not the type of workflow, but you see what I mean? You could actually do something like that and use AI for that reason. The flip side of that, the nefarious, you could potentially use AI to scrape and learn from all these books and potentially do some plagiarizing. So you could potentially get all these ideas from other people, other founders in your niche, potentially create that as your own, and then try and sell that book onward. So you have to be careful. And I know there's lots of AI now that can detect whether books have been written with AI and plagiarism, but I think plagiarism is probably a big deal in this world now with AI, and I think you have to be really careful. So people could potentially use that for in not the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think like AI is a great tool, right? And so I think people should remember it's a tool because it doesn't have a brain yet. Maybe in the future it will, but I think that's really, really great points there, Neil. Only for good, never for evil, which brings up the ethics line. So how do you stay ethical about this, Neil?
How do you stay ethical? I think it's down to your moral character. I think at the end of the day, there's no problem with using AI for research. It's a great research tool. It's a great tool for sort of generating ideas, but those ideas should be your own effectively, the ones that you're going to write down. And if you're going to get paid and hopefully sell this book, then those ideas should come from you. Because at the end of the day, the story that you're trying to create should be about you. It should be about your business. It should be about your journey. It should be the pitfalls, the problems, all the things that you've had that you craft within the book. By all means, use AI for research to help you, but the story and the actual essence of that book should come from within.
Yeah, I love that. Simon, let's pop over to you. Since you've already published, the question becomes what were or what are the biggest challenges that founders underestimate when writing and publishing a book?
Yeah, it's more work than you think. It's 3 stages actually. Stage 1 is writing, stage 2 is editing, and stage 3 is promoting. Each of these is 6 months of hard work. And the first 6 months, the challenge is if you are not a writer, which I'm not, you will need at least a coach or a private editor that you hire already in that stage to keep you accountable, to keep you moving in the right direction. Then there is a structural part still in stage 1 where you have to make sure that the chapters really flow one into the other. So when the chapter ends, how does it end? Think of Netflix. You need a cliffhanger that makes the person want to go to the next chapter. And if it's a business vehicle, which for most listeners it is, then you need a call to action to grab their email address. Otherwise, you have worked 18 months for nothing. Because if you don't grab their email address, you didn't create any business from this book. Any.
So, which brings the next question is like, if like talk about that for a second. How do you not be too like asky or just on the salesy side of at the end of each chapter of like doing a call to action that I think is like genuine and authentic versus like pushing the line.
This is where my editors came in and taught me how to do it. Um, I wouldn't have known these things. So I had a private editor working with me, Cindy, and there was the editor of the publishing house, and she was amazing too. And already in stage one, she was totally helpful and part of the team. So we were 3 people writing actually. And in this stage, Cindy many times said to me, Simon, this chapter cannot end like this. And I said, why? We have to build you up as the authority during the chapter. And in the end of the chapter, we have to give them something that they want to grab. So we rewrote every single chapter. For example, chapter 1 is the story of a client, Ali, who is a YouTuber, and he's trying to find the right price for his cohort. And then there is actual Ali telling the story and what's the problem and how to price it. I don't know how to price it. Will they pay? I don't know. And then there is his coach, which is me in this case, and I'm talking to him and we're going back and forth. And then she says, okay, the actual process that you used with Ali, offer at the end of the chapter, offer the reader to download that exact process so that they can do it to solve their pricing problem. So I created a little tool on how to solve pricing problems. What's the process? Do you want to solve your problem like Ali did? Go here, strategysprints.com/tools, download the tool. And that
Love
was
that. I
Cindy's
think,
idea. Now it's not salesy because you have just experienced something valuable and then you can have it.
yeah,
And
I
it's
think
working.
there's,
People
I
go
mean,
to /tools all the time and download stuff.
it always comes back to the the 5 words that my uncle said, my rich uncle said to me. He's one time, he's like, Sean, he's like, there's only 5 words. It's what's in it for me, right? And so as you're reading a book, a lot of people are always asking that question, like, if I read this chapter, what's in it for me? If I read this book, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of it, right? Like that's the reason that majority of people will go read a book, specifically if they're trying to like master something. And so I think, Simon, that's a great way to do it very authentically and genuinely is here's the example, here's the story, here's the points that you need to remember. And by the way, if you need support, go here. I think that's an easy way to just kind of like do it. So that's awesome. I think that's definitely, let's talk about other big challenges though. I know there's a couple more. Simon, what would you say is another big challenge that founders underestimate when writing or publishing a book?
Well, stage 2 is then editing. And I cannot tell you how irritating that is. I wanted to quit like 3 times during that stage because now you wrote a book for 6 months, right? And if you're a creative person, you are probably bored easily, right? We creative people, we're a little bit ADHD. So now imagine I am bored by my own thinking 10 minutes after I've thought it. Now I was sitting 6 months with my own thinking and writing it down. The next 6 months will be rewriting it. Hemingway said writing is rewriting. So you write a sentence and then you rewrite that same sentence. You know already what the sentence is. Why should I sit an hour with that sentence? It's the most boring thing on planet Earth. And that's what you're going to do for the next 6 months. Because Hemingway is Hemingway, because he was rewriting the sentence. Which words can I cut? If he had 10 words, which 2 words can I cut today? Which 2 words can I cut next? It's so boring. It's mechanic. It adds nothing to your life, but it's necessary because otherwise it won't be a great book. So that's stage 2. And here is where you will want to quit. I had friends seeing me in that stage and they go, "You hate this book, Simon." I say, "Yeah, I hate it." Why do you
Not
hate
from the
it?
content. No, wait, well, hold on. Like, just qualify that, because it's like not from the content perspective, but why you hated it. It was because of all the additional nonsense work that you thought was going into it. That's why, right? It's not because of the content, right?
Nothing of the excitement in stage 2. It's like, I don't know, it's year 23 of a marriage. It's very different from the dating stage. Dating stage, you're excited. You know how excited I was? Hey, I got my first book deal. And literally, the publisher said, "Oh, I think this should be the title of the book. What do you think?" And they go, "Oh yeah, it should be Strategy Sprints. It's iconic." I will never forget that sentence. It's iconic because it is validating. You know, it's the name of our company. It's the name of our main product. And so it is validating your business, your offer, your product, your expertise. So that first stage is exciting. Second stage is boring as hell. It's just work. You are not learning anything new. You know it already. You wrote it 3 months ago. But it's all these logistical things and the type and the setting the type and blah. And then you fight about the cover because they decide the cover and they decide the title. And that's not something that a creative person likes to do, having other people decide the title and the cover. And so we had a fight about the cover until, because you see, it must align to your brand. But now it does align to my brand. This is the book, and this is our mastermind. They actually align in colors and in type. But that was 2 months of fighting because the publisher has also a brand, and they have to stay true to their brand primarily. So in this stage, you will have the next conflict. Some people, they stop the collaboration at this stage because they don't want the title that the publisher wants to give it. But the publisher actually has more knowledge about titles that work than you do. But that's the creative and publisher dynamic that you will have in stage 2. Stage 3, for people like you guys and for me, it's fun. Now you have to be on 800 stages in 6 months. Some people love it. I love it. I was on 800 podcasts. I enjoyed every single month. I felt like the Rolling Stones. But how many people do you know that would experience this as a hustle? Oh my God, I should speak in public 800 times the next 6 months? For some people, it's stressful. And so put these 3 things together and you see how many times this can go wrong. It can burn you out.
I just want to share one thing, because I know a lot of people are like, man, I wish I could just get my word out there. I wish I could like talk a little bit more. I wish I could get on some stages so I could share my story, right? And so I think the other piece of having a book is when you it's another reason for you to do some outreach to say, hey, look, like I'm doing a book tour. This book may just be perfect for your audience. Let's talk about it on your podcast. Can I come on your podcast? And it's a very easy ask to get on somebody's podcast. So if you're like looking to be like a guest on a lot of podcasts, a book might be that perfect little like lever that you can twist so that you can actually rack up. I mean, like Simon, is that kind of when you went through that phase, was it kind of is that what you used as like a kind of a dangling carrot? Like, hey, I got this book, like I'm doing a podcast tour for my book launch, my book tour. Can you help me like share the word because it's a great book? And then maybe did you send the book, like talk through that campaign? Because I think like the biggest, okay, so to the question is, what's the biggest challenge a founder underestimates when writing a book? Yeah, you covered the part of actually writing and then rewriting. I think like endurance was what I got out of what you said, is like you must have endurance. And if you don't, you're going to fail, right? So build your endurance just like you'd build muscles in the gym. You got to just like set the mind. It's going to take 18 months to get this thing out the door. And I think just having that type of endurance is kind of what you were sharing. And then the second part is like most founders that I've ever seen only get 10 or 15 or 20 reviews on a book they've written, and they've spent years writing it. And most people are like, oh, it was a waste of time to write a book, right?
Yes.
So
That's
in
why
your opinion,
it's important in stage 1 that each chapter ends with something that fills your pipeline. Because now you are in stage 3. You are going to all these podcasts. And yes, in the year 2022, we got immediately booked on a podcast just because we had a fresh book. It's very different in 2025. There are now 3 times more podcasts on the planet, and everybody has enough podcasts already on their phone. And it's saturated. It's, oh, another podcast. Oh, another guy who wrote a book. Because now AI is writing 400,000 books a minute. And so I'm getting pitched. I run a podcast and I'm getting pitched 12 times per day. This guy just wrote a book. I don't even read them anymore. So it's changed the dynamic. But yes, in 2022, I got booked on every podcast because they wanted to have this book author guy. And it was something to be a book author. And so, yes, you get booked. But now you are on 3 podcasts today, on 4 tomorrow. You start being a little bit tired. In 3 days, you are on 5 podcasts. And maybe your kids didn't sleep so well because they're getting new teeth. And that's exactly what happened during my tour on podcasts. So I was tired. I didn't sleep well. Where did my motivation come from to still do 5? Only because I was having already chigging in my pipeline. Because in the Slack channel, I was seeing, boom, this person downloaded the focus card tool. Boom, this person downloaded the pricing tool. So I was seeing it working, and that gave me energy to do another week of 5 podcasts per day. So you need these little feedback loops that remind you of why you are doing it. Also, sometimes if you get booked on a stage, sometimes you have to fly like 1.5 days to that stage, then speak for 45 minutes and fly 1.5 days back. And maybe it's a terrible city. And at some point, all hotels look the same. So there is no fanciness in that.
Yeah. Totally. I feel it, man. I feel it. Yeah, I'm excited for the journey. I'm going through it right now. So it is a bit heavy. So like our first book, we actually started writing it about 3 years ago. And so this is the endurance thing that I was talking about. Right. Like as we started writing our first book, it was like, okay, cool. We're going to get this thing done in 6 months is kind of like the original timeline that I had in my head. And I was working with my co-founder, Chris, and we were writing this book and we got it like to about 80,000 words. And we went through the editing. So like what Simon says, we had 2 editors. We had a line editor who was like the grammatical, take the words out, make it shorter, make it simple, make it understandable. And then we had the other editor, which was like an overall sweep of, is it, within the context, does it flow well? Do you have the freebies, giveaways? And so I went through the exact same process that Simon shared. So I can validate that is the process. Most people writing a book. And then so after that, it's like, we ended up not publishing that book. And it was like, why not, Sean? Why didn't you publish this amazing book that you spent 6 months writing? Well, it's because our tech was evolving and I wasn't comfortable with launching a book without including AI and automations, because that's the future. So it was like, a lot of people said, well, just publish version 1 and then you can go do like a rewrite of it. And I was like, no, I'm going to wait because it's not right yet. And then that sparks some more creativity to say, hold on, if we have 1 book, why couldn't we just put like 1 or 2 in front of it and build a trilogy? And that's really where we went. So we're going really big with this. And I'm about maybe a third and a half, 2/3 almost through my first book of the series now, because the book we already wrote is actually the 3rd part. And it's just positioned within the alignment of the brand. I think what Simon was saying is right. Now, most businesses, maybe they don't need a trilogy. Maybe they only need 1 book. But in our case, it was like, it makes a tremendous amount of sense to know that we actually have the structure and the strategy for the next 5 years of book. And again, we're not going to publish all 3 at once. We could, but rather we're going to do 1 at a time and let it run for a while and let that one become a bestseller, and then launch the next one and do the same thing. And then the next one, because it now gives my entire marketing team this opportunity to have these other assets where they can actually go market. So but the biggest challenge is time. I would just say is the endurance part. And it's like, I'm frustrated that I'm not already like out there with a published book. However, I'm excited to know that what I'm building now has tremendous more value and it's actually going to be a better fit for everybody. So I'm excited about that. Okay.
Could I ask you both a quick question? Simon, specifically, because obviously you've had a book.
Sure.
Just real quick, because I'm just interested in this. What's your thought around having your book on different formats? Audio, Audible, things like that, as a downloadable book. on Kindle versus a hard copy. Is there any benefits to that? And should people be considering that when they are starting to write a book? Or is that just coming from your publisher specifically?
So Audible is the best if you are writing to entrepreneurs, because they, and you know it, we are similar, right? We don't have the patience anymore to write, to read a book
Right.
in paper. We listen to it while we do workouts, commutes, do the dishes, whatever. I listen to audiobooks in the sauna, and I listen to audiobooks while I work out, and I work out 1 or 2 hours a day. This is how I get to 1 book per week. I listen to them. If they are really good, I then also buy the Kindle. Now, the pro of the audiobook, definitely shoot for the audiobook because it's how people consume stuff right now. Then, and if you are, imagine you are 7 hours in the ear of somebody. That's a level of intimacy in marketing that's it's gold level. Right? Then the pros of a Kindle you will do anyways. It's not more work. The pros of a Kindle, I was surprised because you go to your own Kindle book and you see what people are highlighting. I didn't know that.
Yes.
But that's an amazing market research. So I see that people in chapter 2 are highlighting that one thing 38 times. I go, oh, I should create a video about that. Oh, I should write an
Yeah.
email about that. So you are getting market research for free, basically.
That's
Because
so good. That's like
yeah,
my favorite thing I've ever heard, man. Like that's amazing.
I didn't know that. But I was reading my own Kindle
Fantastic.
because I forget my own knowledge. And so I have to literally reread what I was thinking because there is some wisdom there that I forget. And so I was reading my own book and I go, oh, this is what you guys like? And sometimes it's something else than you think will land. But you see what's killing it and what's not. And that's, if you think of being a comedian on stage, that's the only thing that matters. When are people laughing? When are you killing it? And so that you do more of that.
Right. I never heard that before. And that's great. That Simon, thank you for that. That
And then
actually
there
makes me
was
more excited.
paperback and hardcover. And hardcover, the publisher went ballistic with the price. I think it's like $80 or something on Amazon. And I said, why ballistic with the price? I mean, it's not a bike. This is a book, right? Shouldn't it be 20 bucks? And they go, no, it's a positioning thing, Simon, because we want universities to have this, like executive MBAs should have this giving out to their students, and they are CEOs. And so it should be positioned as the manual on how to run a digital business in the modern age in an agile way. And it should be in those MBAs. And it fits better if it's well done and it costs 80 bucks. I said, okay. And they expected the 80 bucks version not to sell a lot, but to position it in the right way. And then most of the sales will come from the paperback anyways. And they were right.
That's awesome. Wow. Cool. I love that insight. Okay, we're going to move into the lightning round here. We got less than 5 minutes left. I've got one question for Simon, one question for Neil. Neil, I'm going to start with you. This is a little bit more vulnerable. Lightning round. Here we go. What's been holding you back from finishing or starting your book? And do you ever worry that not having one is limiting your opportunities?
That's a really good question. And I've been struggling with this because I think it's a little bit of self-doubt a lot of the time. It's a little bit of imposter syndrome, what we spoke about before on this podcast, and some of the insecurities. Am I, or have I got the knowledge and the authority and the credibility that would allow me to impart my knowledge and share my experiences with others? And would people think, well, this is interesting, I could learn something from this guy? And I think it's a little bit of an insecurity thing. And it goes back to not knowing whether or not feeling credible enough to be able to just push that book out there and say, look, I have got some experiences. I've started my journey in one field, switched to content creation. I have something to share, but is it good enough for people to resonate and for people to buy? So that's particularly what's been holding me back at the moment. But I'm getting older and wiser, so
okay,
why not?
so me and Simon are the sales guys, and we never sit and listen to those types of head trash, is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah, sure.
And so I this is from a place of love. Do you have a plan to get rid of your imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I mean, I think as I'm getting more feedback from people and as more people are actually learning things from me and giving me that positive feedback, like what Simon's saying about the highlights in the book, I'm getting comments from various things and things that I post, and people say, well, this has really helped me and so on. So I do believe that there is genuine knowledge that I have to share, but it's just a little bit of a niggle. So I'm working on it. Let's put it that way.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure because
Thank you.
we don't allow imposter syndrome on this podcast.
Good,
This is
good. Just
not allowed.
slap
So
that
Not
just
away.
allowed.
yeah,
Absolutely.
just I mean,
Thank
well,
you.
think
Not
about it this
allowed.
way. Like Neil, think about it this way, right? Like your value, like people pay you thousands, four figures, five figures to help them with the stuff that you do, audio, video, right?
Right.
So that's more than the price of a book. And they're
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
sure,
get your
sure.
knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's like that's
exactly.
how I think about it. Is like, oh my God, like I've closed $200 million in my career. Like, should I write a book?
Wow.
Hell yes, because like the
Yeah,
stuff I've
absolutely.
been through, no one's been through. So
Right. No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. But these are good questions, and this is why you guys are the maestros, you know.
I don't know about that. All right, Simon, we'll come your way. Here's one for you specifically, a little bit more vulnerable. Have you ever felt like your book didn't deliver the impact or the ROI that you expected? What would you do differently if you could start over?
ROI was amazing, but I wanted to quit during it, and I felt like a loser many, many times. For example, on Amazon, we have a ton of 5-star reviews, but there is also one that's I don't know, a negative review. And I know each single word of that one negative review works in me. It's like this guy doesn't even speak English. It's an Austrian book for beginners. And oh my God. So I forgot what the amazing reviews, like this book changed my life, etc. Those words they just pass by, but the word of one negative one, it
Mhm.
works in me for weeks, for months. I will never forget their words. So yeah, and then I feel like a loser, and then I don't have the energy to write the next book, which I am procrastinating as we speak. I started
No.
it, and I don't want to continue because I know how much work it is. But you said something really important. You said I split it up into 3 books, and I think this is the way to go moving forward. So I was pissed when I saw Alex Hormoz's book and it went ballistic. Everybody loved his book. And then I bought it and I was, this is what you guys find amazing. This is half of the first chapter of my book in terms of content. And then I realized I gave too much. This could have been 12 books in a series, you know, and I think there is some wisdom in that. Make it smaller and package it. You still help people get to the knowledge and the wisdom, but you can use it much smarter in your marketing. And this is what Alex did, and I think it's really good idea. Make smaller books that are more deep into one thing, because there are the idea books and there are the practical books. Idea books have, anyways, just one idea. It could be a PDF, but they are so good at writing that they can do 150 pages out of that. The practical books, my book is a practical book. Each chapter of Strategy Sprints gives you the actual tool. Like this is the pricing chapter, and now you get the actual tool to solve your pricing problems. That's a practical one. And these books probably we can do multiple books instead of one. Then there is the pricing workbook,
Mhm.
and then there is a marketing workbook, and you can split it up and do multiple.
I would agree with that. I think like today's world, there's so many distractions coming at us. We have to like feed people in like these like little micro pieces of knowledge. And I think I agree with that, Simon, a lot because our third book is just what you talked about is like we completely overvalue and over delivered everything in that one. And I'm excited to launch that one, but I think it's too much, right? Because like most founders are busy. Most founders are like doing crazy things. They're like, how can I like comprehend an entire practical book like yours your type of a book, if I were reading your book, Simon, like from start to finish, because I've already read it and I love it. And by the way, guys, if you haven't gotten Strategy Sprints, go to strategysprints.com and get the book right now. Download that, right? And then leave a comment on this podcast about what you love or hate or anything in between. Please don't say what you hate. Oh, no, do, because then that'll keep Simon up at night. But if I was consuming Simon's book, the way that I would do it is I would read it once and I would highlight all the things I was important. And then I would go back through each chapter. And so like if I consumed his book again from the start and I didn't know anything, it would be like chapter 1 is going to take me 2 months. Chapter 2 is going to take me another 3 months. And so I would start reading it that way, where I'd be like, okay, there's so much here. Like, I'm just going to do one chapter. Unfortunately, then that makes you feel like, oh man, I'm not making progress because I'm not getting through multiple books, right? So there's a little bit of head trash that I have around that. But at the same time, like, I also have a lot of respect for what you put in your book, because I think it's world-class, dude.
One more surprise. So one surprise was the Kindle thing. The next surprise was a few weeks ago, Dave, another client, comes to the Monday session, our weekly coaching, and says, Simon, we as a team are reading your book as a book club. And I said, what do you mean as a book club? And I said, we picked your book. We are going chapter by chapter. It will take us 3 months. And we will go through all 12 chapters. We read it, then we discuss it, then we implement, and then we move to the next chapter. We are right now in chapter 4, and we are doing the website, and we are changing the website accordingly, because chapter 4 tells them how to do hero section, the buttons, getting them to actually click and convert and enter your funnel. And so they're actually implementing that. And I said, I didn't know that you can do that. So if you guys are thinking about writing a book, start with that in mind. Write it in a way that is easily book clubbable. So think of each chapter as a standalone little quest that they can do and implement and then move on to the next. So make it easy for them. Maybe there is a checklist at the end which shows, summarizes the steps.
Got it. Love it. Okay, well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's session. Hopefully this was helpful on writing a book. Should I write a book? Remember, smash that like button, because if you're looking to write a book, we want to know. Like, drop a comment below this video about this. And secondly, remember, this is a season of podcast for you as a founder to elevate to the next level. And if you want to stick with us throughout the season, we're only covering topics that are hyper relevant to you and what you need to employ in your business so that you can move to the next level. So hit that subscribe so that you can come along with us on our journey here. Because in 2 weeks from now, where we can cover paid communities. Then we're going to dive into YouTube optimization. And then we've got some AI stuff that is going to blow your mind. Again, I was just at this conference with 50 of the world's best AI implementers. I learned some crazy things. And so I'm excited to share with you, but make sure you subscribe so that you can get all of the updates and when we hit you. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for being here. Neil, Simon, any last words?
I'm so excited to get your AI stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's go. All right, guys. Well, go fight, win. Don't forget, elevate. We'll see you later.
Avoid trying to do thousands of things that doesn't work. We have 274 templates for your business success. Reach your ambitious goals with one-on-one sprint coach. We double your revenue in 90 days.
What if your business would run well even when you are on vacation? Discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategy Sprints blueprints, how they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategy Sprints.